Hi friends, welcome back to Scale Model Kit Review Studio, and welcome back to another episode of the Agora models of British SAS Jeep. Let's get started. Welcome back to the studio. This is Steve. Welcome back to another installment of the Agora models build the Willys SAS Jeep. Fantastic here. We're almost finished with this build. We have two more packs to go, including this one. Pack 11 here, stages 84 through 92. 9 more stages to build. And like I did before in the previous video, I may combine some of the stages because it makes sense. We'll be duplicating things here with this build. When it comes to some of the machine guns that we've already built in this, I'm not going to show you that. That can be referenced back to earlier videos on how to assemble those. So just to keep the video short, I will be condensing some of that stuff here. As a reminder, if you have not gone over to Agora Models yet, check out their brand new releases that they have available. They are rolling hot and heavy right now and coming out with new stuff. Head over there and see what they have. And also, if this is still available, which I'm sure it is, go ahead and subscribe to it, or you can actually purchase it outright, I believe. When we are done with all these, it'll be available as a complete kit. And I highly recommend it. It's a fun build. I do plan to weather this at the end, so stay tuned for that. That will be a whole separate video after this model is complete. So without further ado, let's get started on stage 84 and 85. Stage 84 and 85, we get the flare gun and the spare tire. We also get the spare wheel on 85. And here's those parts out of the bags. Here's our spare tire. Fantastic there. Our flare gun and holster, along with the wheel itself. 2 parts made of metal and BM screws. Now I'll go ahead and go downstairs and boil up some water. I'll throw this tire in the water for about 2 to 3 minutes. It's going to be really soft. Throw it in aluminum foil, bring it back up here, and assemble it. That makes it a heck of a lot easier. I do highly recommend you heat up this tire to assemble it on the rim here. And as far as the flare gun goes, all we do is we insert that into the holster, and that's pretty much it for 84. So I'll be right back. All right. Back. Now we can go ahead and assemble this. Line everything up. Perfect. It's easier to squeeze together at that point. I like to put a little oil on the screw, and there we go. Get them all started. So we have another one of these to build because it has 2 spare tires, and this is really easy to do anyways. Very nice. And that's the last one, all tight, and that's what that looks like. That completes stage 84 and 85. Let's get started on stage 86. Stage 86, fitting the first spare wheel. Here's a close-up of those parts. These are for the spare tire. This is the mount for that, made of metal. Very cool polished surface on the end there. We have the washer there for the tire and the cover. Then we have this rod, this reinforcement rod for the engine compartment. It comes with 4 nuts. And then we have the twin mount for the Vickers machine gun, made of metal. Very cool there. Both of these pieces here are made of metal. Nice. 2 DM screw bags, AM and KM screws. Okay, so the mount was installed on the passenger side in the back of the Jeep. You can see that right there. 4 yellow DM screws were used for that. Note the orientation for the rod that comes out and holds the tire. It's more narrower on top than the bottom. We can go ahead and mount the tire now. Just like that. The spacer will go in next, and then our screw. What I like to do with this before I actually mount the tire on that, I like to get the threads started on the screw. This is a KM screw for this. So we'll just get them started with some 3-in-1 oil. Perfect. Okay, and then I'll back it out and we'll go ahead and put our tire on. Go ahead and put the washer on the screw and we'll install it. There you go. Just snug. Looks good. And then our cap can go on that. And you can see the cap there. Okay, so the next step is to install this reinforcement rod in the engine compartment. They want us to install these 2 little nuts on the rod on both ends, which I've done. I threaded them on. Now we'll go ahead and install this from the radiator almost to the firewall area here. So the secret to this is run it to the radiator first. Okay, push it through all the way like I did there, and then run it to the insert area near the firewall. And you can kind of see that there, where it ran in right there. Okay, so next is the tricky part. To get the next nut on the front there, line that up. Got it. Okay. And then I can run it up a little. Okay, so you can see my threads are there. Now I can run the other thread down and lock that down. As much as possible. Okay, that's pretty good there. I can run the nut down on the back. And that will lock that down. Okay. And got that locked down right there. Got that locked down right there. It looks good. And of course, right there on the radiator. And you can see where that rod runs right there. Very good. Now let's work on that machine gun mount. Next I'll mount these 2 Vickers machine guns to the mount. And they get mounted basically right here. There's a hole right there that the machine gun swivels on the mount on both sides with DM screws. And there you go. The first one is mounted with those 2 DM screws. Looks good. I'll go ahead and mount the second one. And there you go. Both of them are mounted now. Looks good. Next we'll mount this rod that ties the 2 together, and it basically mounts on the underside on the back here, and 2 AM screws. We're going to hold that together. I'll be right back. And both screws were installed. Holds those together on the mount. Very good. Very nice. And that completes stage 86. Let's get started on stage 87. Stage 87, fitting the Vickers K machine gun. And here's the parts. Here's our second spare tire, DM and TM screws, and some of the parts for the Vickers K machine gun. I brought over the Jeep. We're going to install the Vickers K machine gun. This is the one we assembled in previous packs. And that's going to mount on the driver's side mount there. And just right like that. And 2 DM screws are going to hold that in the mount, just like we did for the twin Vickers mount. And there you go. The 2 screws are installed. Rotates and goes up and down. Very cool. Next I'll assemble the gun sight for the twin Vickers machine gun, and both of these little components will get mounted on the center of both of those brackets. And I'll use a little bit of extra thin on that because these are plastic. Let that dry. And the other part of the gun sight, that gets inserted just like that. And I'll go ahead and throw a little extra thin on that also. Now both of these will get mounted to the twin Vickers. Now these will get mounted to the top of the Vickers machine gun with these tiny TM screws. Okay, the first one was installed with those screws. And the next one will go up here. Next I'll install both of these pan mags from stage 63 and 64. Okay, both pan mags were installed. I did use some super glue on those, although they did insert into the pins very tightly. But that's how they look there. Very nice. Very cool looking machine gun. That completes stage 87. Let's get started on stage 88. Stage 88, assembling the second spare wheel. Plus we do a whole bunch of other little things. Here's our other spare wheel, made of metal, very cool. BM and DM screws. Alright, first thing we do is we mount the wheel to the tire. Go ahead and take this downstairs and I'll boil this for about 2 or 3 minutes. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. All that boiled up, should be nice and very pliable, very nice. So we'll go ahead and get everything lined up here. That should work. And put our screws in. I'll be right back. And there we go. Fully assembled, ready to be mounted on the back of the Jeep. We'll be doing that in the next stage, I believe. But for now, let me bring over the twin Vickers machine gun because we're going to mount that to our mount on the back of the Jeep. I'll be right back. Alright, here's our mount on the back of the Jeep. We're going to insert this onto that mount, and then a BM screw is going to hold that in place. Ready to rock and roll. That's super cool. And there it is mounted. Looks great. That completes stage 88. Let's get started on stage 89. Stage 89, fitting the second spare wheel. DM, KM, RP screws, our mount for the second spare wheel with the spacer, and then our pan magazine parts right here. And there you go, the second tire mount was installed on the driver's side in the back here with those DM screws. And the second tire was mounted just like before. Looks great. The last thing I did here was install the pan magazine off camera. We already know how that was done. A bracket was installed on the top here with the handle screw there, and 12 cartridges were inserted on top of double-sided tape. That's what that looks like. And this just simply goes together. Go ahead and put this together. Go ahead and line up the notch there and squeeze it together. Perfect. That completes stage 89. Let's get started on stage 90. Stage 90, assembling the M2 Browning machine gun part 1. Now, I haven't showed you how to do that on this video. I did assemble one of those on the Willys Jeep, the MB Jeep that I've been building also on my channel. Here's the parts for another pan magazine, and then the first parts for the Browning machine gun RP screws. First thing I do is I insert this sleeve for the Browning machine gun on top of that, just like that. Then I assembled the pan cartridge there, just like before. That completes stage 90. Let's get started on stage 91. Stage 91, assembling the M2 Browning machine gun part 2. And here's those parts for the Browning machine gun, except we have this double-sided tape here, which is going to be for the straps for the jerry cans that go in the back of the Jeep. But we have the handhold here for the Browning machine gun, the spacer, the rod for that. We have the end of the barrel, and we also have these loops for that handhold. Okay, here's a close-up of those loops. If you'll lay your loops down just like I did, you'll note that one loop is larger than the other. The loop on the left is 7.3 millimeter, and the one on the right is 7.1 millimeter. And that makes a difference because your Browning barrel is tapered. Okay, so you want to have the larger 7.3 in the back and the smaller the 7.1 in the front. Alright, I'll go ahead and install these loops on the handle. Got the larger loop here. We'll install that first. And the smaller loop next. Now that those loops are installed, I'm going to install this rod. Okay, and it just goes between the ends. There we go. Alright. And now these loops need to be moved down a little bit. And again. This one here needs to be moved down. Okay. Now, the larger loop is going to get inserted into the barrel first, and I'll do that. But before we put the other loop in, we need to put this spacer in between. So the spacer goes in between, just like that. Then we can slide it all the way down, and it should fit just right, and it does, just like that. So that's how that looks. Then the next thing we do is we install our barrel end, and that's just a press fit. That's how that looks there. And that's all we do with part 2 for the Browning machine gun in this stage. Now let's work on those jerry cans in the back of the Jeep. This is when you know you're almost done with this Jeep, because we're finally going to install these jerry cans. We're going to put 4 on each side on the back of the Jeep, and we have 8 of them laid out here, but we'll go ahead and do that. That's how they look there. They look great. And what they want us to do is pull the strap over. We'll take the strap here and we're going to insert it through this support bracket. Okay, might be easier to do it with 2 of them pulled out so we can get in there easier with some tweezers, and we'll push one corner through so I can grab it with the tweezers on this side. There we go. Then I can put my other cans in. That'll work. Okay. And then they want us to put tape on the end of it. So I'll go ahead and do that. And I'll put that tape on the end here. Just like that. You can see that. And I'll pull the top of the tape off and wrap it over. Pull this tape off. I'm using an X-Acto blade for that. Perfect. And we'll wrap this around and secure it down the way it needs to be. Perfect. There, looks good. I did both sides. Looks good. Okay, I brought over the Bagnall Sun Compass in my spares there, and it's going to mount right there in the middle of the dash. You can see there's a half moon shape for it. It just pressed to fit for that. Perfect. And a closer view of that. Looks great. That completes stage 91. Let's head over and get started on the final stage for this video, stage 92. Stage 92, the final stage for this video, I'll be assembling the M2 Browning machine gun part 3. And here's all the parts for the Browning machine gun. We have LP, ZM, DM, and TM screws. Okay, we have a lot of little tiny parts to put on this. So we have the main frame of the Browning machine gun. We're going to put the sight on there. Super glue is your friend here. We'll put a little bit of super glue in here to hold that part in place. And Make sure you install the sight with the bolt towards the back end, just like that. Bring over the barrel next, and I'm going to put more super glue here where the barrel goes. And we'll insert the barrel here, just like that. Then we'll put on the other side of the main body of the machine gun, right there. Sandwich those parts together to hold them in. 3 DM screws will go into that. 3 DM screws are installed. Looks good. Next I'll put this sight together. We put this small piece here on the left in between the large metal piece there. Kind of goes just like that. And that will get inserted into the machine gun. Bring over the machine gun, and it's going to get inserted right there. Just like that. After that sight is inserted, then we put a ZM screw to hold all that together. Use a little bit of oil to help you along. Good, that's perfect. And that's what that sight looks like installed. Looks good. Next I'm going to mount these wooden handles on the end of the machine gun, and you'll note that there's an alignment tab you have to pay attention to in between those mounting holes. The other thing you want to do is widen those holes a little bit. Just take an X-Acto blade and clean out the paint in between there to make the screws go in a lot easier for these. So just do this, and you can get your screws through there no problem. Okay, and do that for both of them. Now to make things easier, I'm just going to put a dab of super glue right there. And line the handle. Remember, we have the tab here. Line the handle up where those screws go. Just like that. Line it up. And then you can start your screws. And the next one right there. This trigger assembly needs to be assembled into the back of that. So I loosened up those screws on top here, and I'm going to insert that in. Okay. Now I can go ahead and, once that's inserted, I can go ahead and tighten my screws down. And that locks that in place. Looks good. Next I'll use these LP screws to install these wooden handles on these brackets. It's a good idea to get your screws started first. Get the thread started. On both sides. Then it makes it easier to install those on the brackets. And both handles are installed. Looks very good. Next, this little item gets installed right below the trigger, and you got a little half moon cutout on that. That faces downward. Alright, to make that fit a little better, I'm going to take my X-Acto blade and I'm going to ream out the hole for that a little bit. Okay. And then I should be able to fit it in there. Okay, so that rod is put in. I used some super glue on that. Next I'm going to put in this part right here. Okay, so both those parts are in. A little fiddly to do that, but it looks good. Next we'll assemble the cocking handle here, and it will go up against that, just like that, and an LP screw will go into that. Very fiddly here. You see I have the screw inserted through the bracket. A little bit of pressure. And there we go. Now that can get mounted to our 50 cal machine gun. Alright, I brought over the machine gun and put our handle on here next, just like that. And a DM screw holds that down. There you go. Looks good. And that completes the Browning machine gun for stage 92. Looks great. I'll be right back. And there you go, folks. Pack 11 is complete. Fantastic. We have the dual Vickers machine guns completed already. All the jerry cans installed, the 2 spare tires. The front Vickers machine gun completed. Fantastic there. And we started almost complete with the 50 cal machine gun. And we have some extra parts left over here. Fantastic. That completes pack 11. I must say, really looking the part. This Jeep is fantastic. If you haven't noticed already, I did put down some how to assemble the ammo belts and how to beef up the axles for this Jeep, because it definitely will need it. It is a heavy beast. Oh, we also have our compass right there. Nice. So if you haven't done so already, head over to Agora Models and subscribe to this Jeep today. It's fantastic. I'm having a blast. One more pack to go, folks, and it will be done. And then I'll get to start the weathering process. If you like my content, please subscribe to my channel and smash that like button, everybody. I am accepting memberships. Join my channel for exclusives and some giveaways. With that, take care, everybody, and happy modeling.
Tiny pieces in my hands, dreams of worlds in my command. Snapping, painting, building, true. Welcome to Scale Model Kit Review. Glue it down, sand it smooth, crafting magic with the groove. Planes and tanks, ships too. Scale Model Kit Review.